Good evening, everyone. This is Artist Formerly Known. And if you haven't figured it out by now, the reason I'm on New Day's channel is because New Day and I collaborate on a lot of the content on her channel, It's a New Day. And I wanted to take a little bit of your time just to kind of clarify our latest video, the Delphi-Diener Dilemma, because I've seen a little bit of confusion in some comments. There are a lot of Dieners in this case, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood which Diener was which, no pun intended, and just in the spirit of transparency, I just want everybody to understand what we're looking at here. So here we go. So let's begin with this clip from the Carroll County comment in March 2006. This is a wedding announcement for Abigail Huffer and Benjamin Diener. Benjamin Diener, of course, is the former Judge Benjamin Diener, who was originally on the Delphi case and was later replaced with Judge Francis Gall. Abigail Huffer is the daughter of a once prominent, now deceased attorney whose law firm was in Flora, Indiana. This family is extremely well known in Carroll County, and we will be doing a video about the prominent families of Carroll County in the near future, because there's some interesting things that I don't think a lot of people are aware of with these families. Anyway, the reason that we're showing this is because it does list the parents of Abigail Huffer or now Abigail Diener, and Benjamin Diener. The reason I'm showing this is because it just simply states the other family members of these two. And the reason that David Diener is important is because that is who Stacy Diener says she is married to in that radio interview back in 2022. I could show you other things that prove that this is the same David Diener, Benjamin's father, who is now married to Stacy Diener, who was, of course, the special prosecutor brought in on the Delphi case. But I don't want to show personal information like addresses and so forth, but it is public record, just so you know. We wanted to clarify the purpose of this because I feel like this is the biggest point of confusion, because there's a lot of Dieners, obviously, so I just wanted you to understand the connection. So David Diener is former Judge Benjamin Diener's father. Benjamin Diener, the former judge in the Delphi case, who again recused himself due to bloodlust. David is his father, which makes Stacy Judge Diener's stepmommy. So hopefully that clears up which Diener is which here, no pun intended. And now let's move on to some other points of the video. So next I wanted to explain what all of these are. The radio interview was from her race for prosecutor back in 2022 in White County against David Delgado, which she did lose. If you remember, when she was appointed special prosecutor, she was working in the prosecutor's office in White County and was, of course, appointed by the powers that be. All of these ads that we are showing are for her current campaign, and they are on her Facebook page for this current campaign and available for everyone to see. As Prof pointed out last week, she has endorsements from Becky Patty And there were a couple other endorsements that we felt like we also needed to point out. The next endorsement, up there in the left-hand corner, that little circle flying around there, you see the name Aspen. And if you are familiar with this case, you know who Aspen Connor is. He is related to the Patties and was very present at trial and curiously looks identical to Doug Carter's wife, which is hilarious and confusing, par for the course. The next endorsement of interest is by Steve Mullen, Chief of Police of Delphi, and was Chief of Police when the Delphi murders occurred, and then was an investigator for the prosecutor's office in Carroll County, you know, old Nicky boy, and is once again Chief of Police and is giving his endorsement for Stacy Diener to be White County prosecutor. Something to ponder here is she's getting all of these endorsements from Carroll County, and Carroll County residents cannot vote for White County prosecutor. So what do we think would be the purpose of having these endorsements? Well, it's simple, because she mentions the Delphi trial throughout her campaign materials. And so she is trying to secure a position of power in White County and using her role in the trial of Richard Allen in order to secure that position, backed up with endorsements by the Patty family, Connor Aspen, who's also, I told you, part of the Patty family, and of course, Steve Mullen. But this is not the first time that she's used a horrible death to try to obtain a position of power. Oh no! Which brings us to the next part of this video. Now we're going to move on to the next part, and this is with regard to that question in that 2022 radio interview when she was asked what the toughest case she handled was. And she said it was a case of neglect of a child resulting in death up in Pulaski County, which, by the way, she never filed charges on because she said there wasn't enough evidence. She states that she worked with ISP Detective Stephanie Thompson, who, of course, as you know, was the polygrapher in both the Delphi case and in the Kagan Klein case, whose house caught fire back in February of 2022, and that fire resulted in the death of her and her daughter Maya. Maya and Stephanie were killed in that fire, if that's in fact all it was a fire, back in February of 2022. As a matter of fact, it was February 20th of 2022. Stacy Diener decides to mention Stephanie in her radio campaign back in 2022, less than 2 months after the tragic death of Maya and Stephanie. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that I don't believe that that would be something that I would use to gain votes. And I found this part particularly disgusting, and I thought everybody should hear it. And remember, this is less than 2 months after this tragic, suspicious fire that killed these two beautiful people and this young girl in the prime of her life and this officer who I feel was onto something in this case. I guess what I'm getting at here is really, Stacy, you couldn't have picked another case. You had to be this gross and tacky. And now you're being gross and tacky again by using the framing of an innocent man to gain a position of power. In this video, we asked Stacy the question, did you let McClellan know that all of this evidence was bupkis? No, of course you didn't. You went along with the charade that has become the conviction of Richard Allen. And I'm sorry, I get a little emotional when I see Stephanie and Maya there. I don't have any more words, and I don't really think I need to say much more about that. I think it speaks for itself. Well, this concludes the breakdown of the Delphi-Diener dilemma. I hope this cleared some things up for you if you were having a little bit of trouble tracking what we were pointing out. And I want to wish you all good night, be safe, and for God's sake, do not vote for this despicable woman. Good night, everyone.